Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Nitro Racing League here on the channel. Today we go racing at Texas Motor Speedway, coming off of what now 2 wins on the season we have, so we're looking pretty good coming into this race. And we actually started in P1, but I did not actually qualify on the pole, so two guys were actually I think qualified in front of me, and so they were actually on probation, so they actually had to start at the back of the field. So I was promoted to P1, but it does not count as a pole. So you might be wondering, what are the race length there? So we're running 165 laps total. Stage 1 comes to a close when we hit lap 41. Stage 2 comes to a close when we hit lap 81. And then, of course, when we hit lap 166, the race is complete, of course, unless we have some overtime. So we were off to a nice early lead right here in Texas Motor Speedway, and I really wasn't sure what to expect in this race. We've gotten 2 Nitro Series wins at this track here in Texas, but both of those races that I've won at this track, we were never really in the mix to win the race right up until the end of it. So this time out, we were right up here in the mix so far as we came through the turns 2. I make a bit of a mistake though, not really having a lot of experience here over the past couple weeks, and then I make that mistake like that right there, left the door wide open as I got really tight. That opened the door for the 95 of Connor, as well as Jonathan there in the 20 to slip through on the inside, make a pass there, as I would be able to get in front of that 3 car as we came through out of turns 4 and hold him off. But that was really the only thing that happened for the first little bit of this race. Now is 4th place on back actually fell way behind, and then I make a move out of turns 4 on Connor, who hit the apron in the middle of the corner, and I would be able to slip through on the outside and move back up into 2nd place. And really a very calm stage 1 for the majority of this first stage as we came through now on lap, I believe that was 20 we had just come through to start, and we were still running in 2nd place, just doing our thing now as we had no pressure from behind, trying to run down Jonathan. And I felt like both Jonathan and myself had the 2 best cars here today, hands down in Texas. Whoever was really able to get out in front between us was the one that was going to be able to hold on to that lead now. So we were both extremely even now in this race, as we were already past the halfway point in stage 1, now on lap 28. So we have brand new pit rules in the Nitro Racing League, and you're going to see it right here. So when we are pitting under green, we have to enter onto the apron in turn 3, ride the apron all the way around now, all the way into the pit lane, and then when we come out, we have to stay on the apron until we come through out of turns 2. But then you see me stay out. That was because a caution had gotten called as that was happening. So I crossed the line. We still get P2. I'm not sure if that would have been a penalty or not, because obviously I was going to be penalized if I had come into the pit lane. So I actually jumped out of the pit lane, so I don't know if that would have been a penalty or not. I never even asked because I didn't even think about it, but then I look back on it. I don't know what the situation would have been. But we, once again, would come into the pit lane under caution though, and we were still in P2 right here behind Jonathan. So we got kind of messed over there because that caution literally came out maybe 2 seconds before I had gotten there, so I had enough time to back out of it. But you're going to notice a common trend here with pit lane for me today now, so stay tuned later in this episode to see what happens with that now. So Jonathan and myself, though, we cut straight through to the final lap. This was the battle for the stage win. Nothing was really happening here, and I went into turn 3, actually run into the back of Jonathan. He knew I was going to try and move him. He actually got on the brakes here, so I don't care if you're a teammate or not. I was like, I want a playoff point, so I tried to move him. Didn't quite work, so Jonathan holds on to the stage 1 victory, and we have to settle for P2. So 4 points, as you guys know, if you're maybe new to the Nitro Racing League, the top 5 in the first 2 stages are the only ones that get stage points. So as we came through, getting ready to go green for stage 2, I chose the top here for the choose cone rule. That was a terrible decision, and you're going to see why in just a few moments now as we would get back underway for the start of this second stage. So we came out in P3 after making our pit stops behind that 14 of Mahu, as well as that 20 of Jonathan here as we come through turns 1 and 2. Already not looking great here as we come through out of the corner, but myself and Bryce had a bit of a bet of who was going to be able to get out in front between himself and I was doing everything I could to stay in front of him here in that 18. I got clear for maybe a half a second, maybe a full second, and I could have dropped down, but of course I didn't anticipate getting clear, so I ended up staying up top. And then the next lap around, we were now 3 wide with Matt O'Brien and the 9 of Andrew Wisdom. Matt got into me once, he gets into me again there after he got pushed up, and now we're both up into the outside wall, and now we drop all the way back outside of the top 10. So that was, I think, the first and last time I decided to go to the top here for a restart with that choose cone rule. So now we were all the way back towards the back of the pack, and we had to find a way to move our way back forwards before the second stage comes to a close at lap 81. So I was able to drop down there right behind Jay. We would end up getting past Jay. We got past Matt. We got to the back of the number 21 of Blake, and now out of turns 2 we would make a pass on him and move up into P7, and there was just about 30 laps to go at this point here in stage 2. So time was running up pretty quick, and now we were in this battle here with the 6th place on forward, with the 4 of Christian, his teammate of Mahu, and the 14 we had our teammate of Bryce there, and the 18 up in the mix as well. And then you got the 24 just a few car lengths up in front of these guys, and that of course is Venom. As we go down into turns 1 though, we would be able to clear that 4 of Christian, and you're going to notice a few moments later in the next turn, Mahu and the 18 of Bryce come together, and that opened the door for me. This, by the way, was a race to a caution now, as there was a couple cars crashing. Caution was coming out when we got to the line. We were able to get P4 at the line there over Mahu. So then we came into the pit lane again for 2 cans of fuel, 4 fresh tires, making some adjustments to the car and whatnot, and we would come out in P3 for the choose cone rule, or actually we came out P2 for the choose cone rule, and then I took the inside, Mahu took the top, so we were down to P3 now, right behind Jonathan. As you guys know, cautions are really weird this season in Nitro, so when the caution comes out, we don't slow down immediately and pause timing, so we actually have to race it to the next time around to the line. So next time we hit the line after a caution is called, that's when the field is frozen in. That causes some issues that you're going to see represented here as well in today's episode now, and I'll go over that when we get there. But now out of turns 2 on lap 66 here, closing in about 15 laps to go in stage 2. I make a move up the inside of Jonathan. Now I wanted to see if we could actually sure enough get past him, and we were up the inside of him here as we came through out of turns 4, and myself and Jonathan had a nice side-by-side battle going on here for a couple of laps now, as we also had some help from the 14 of Mahu. So we come through a lap later, lap 68 into turns 1, we finally do get clear of Jonathan, take over the lead with just over 10 laps to go in this second stage from Texas Motor Speedway. So it was looking pretty good, and then we came through to lap 69, nice, now continuing to lead the way. Then we cut straight through to the final lap of stage 2, and we were leading the way still into turn 3. Mahu, he had kind of fallen off a little bit. I think he hit the wall a couple times, had some issues there. Jonathan fell off by a couple car lengths after all of that. They got battling as well, Jonathan and Mahu did at some point, so that helped me as well as we came through to win stage 2 after finishing in P2 in stage 1. So a very strong start to this race here in Texas Motor Speedway. We of course came into the pit lane for 2 cans of fuel, 4 fresh tires. All of the adjustments I needed in the car at this point were in there, so we got back underway though. Now, as once again, I should remind you guys, the race ends when we hit lap 166. So we had about an 80 lap stage right here. So it was quite a good chunk of time. That's at least about 2 pit stops that we have to make here under green flag conditions or under caution, whatever it's going to end up being here as we go down into turn 3, leading the way over that 20 of Jonathan. But everything was looking good, and I had mentioned before that every time we have won at Texas in the Nitro Racing League, it was races where I really wasn't in the mix right up until the end. So I was very concerned. I was like, something's going to go wrong here, because we've been in the mix the whole day. So we cut straight through to lap 93. It was a 3-car breakaway again between myself, Jonathan, as well as Mahu. So it was pretty evident that myself, Jonathan, Mahu, we had the 3 best cars here. Unfortunately, a caution had come out right there, so we had to get back underway after making another pit stop, and now Jonathan fell back by a few rows. He was down in row number 3 with Mahu pushing me down into turns 1. So that made me feel a little bit more comfortable for the time being, because I know Jonathan seems to have just a little bit more pace than that 14, but obviously overall us 3 were extremely even for the majority of this final stage. And of course in stage 2 you saw that as well represented here as we go down into turns 3. Jonathan, of course, he's not had the best start to the season. His second season in Nitro, he is winless so far. He actually got up into second, made a mistake out of turns 2. Mahu had fell down a few positions as well, so all of a sudden I had like the biggest gap anyone's had all day, and for some reason nobody could catch me. And the 9 of Andrew Wisdom, he was battling for second with Jonathan, as well as some of our other JGR teammates like Bryce, and nobody was able to run me down here. And I was like, this is great, we might just keep it green and we might be able to just cruise to victory at this point. So that was hopefully what was going to happen, is it was going to just stay green to the end of this race. I mean, there really wasn't a lot of crashing happening. Of course, there was a few cautions here and there. A little bit later on lap 122, now we had actually put Master Killer in the 3-car lap down, and that actually helped me a little bit because I was able to feed off of the draft that he was giving me for a few laps, and that was just able to keep me comfortably out in front. We were almost 2 seconds ahead of Bryce. Now on lap 125, I'm coming in to make my pit stop. Green flag pit stops were underway, so sure enough, we enter through turns 3 and 4. Here's what gets interesting. As I'm coming through turns 4, there's a crash happening behind us as I'm coming into the pit lane. It gets really close. I get into the pit lane right here. We speed into the pit lane, but then the caution gets called maybe within 2 seconds, not even after I cross the line, and that actually completely screws us over. It's not the speeding penalty that messes me over. So with the situation situation where everybody has to race it back to the line, that forces me into taking the wave around. In real life, of course, when you're on the pit lane, you're on the lead lap, a caution comes out, you've been gifted the lead pretty much. Now in Nitro, with us racing it back, and now if you do the right thing, you actually get screwed over. So that's something I think we're going to look into with the Nitro Racing League. I'm not sure what Matt's going to do about that, but it was interesting how that works out. The 24 actually got screwed over by the same thing earlier in the race, so it sucked because now you can see we were down the order like this, trying to work our way back forwards with just over 30 laps to go, very close up with the 21 of Blake there now as you went down into turn 3. But of course we know we have some serious speed in this car, but the problem was the 20 and the 14, well, they were out there in front in P1 and P2, and I was not wasting any time. I didn't care if it was a teammate, I was just pushing my way through, making it happen, of course as clean as possible nonetheless. But now we got to the inside of the 24. Venom there, very close call between himself and I. Of course he's going to race this as hard as he possibly can, but fortunately we were able to get up the inside of him as we came through out of turns 4, and that would be another pass. So we were already up inside the top 5 on lap 139. We got to the inside of Andrew Wisdom now into turn 3 on lap 140, and we have a bit of a close call right here on his screen. I hit him in the door. Obviously you see on my screen I didn't, but I felt bad for him there because obviously on his screen it was pretty evident that I hit him, but he would at least get in line behind me there in P4. It definitely helped you had a teammate behind him. But now on lap 145 we have made one heck of a recovery. We have gotten back up into P3. Andrew behind us actually got in the wall. I'm not sure exactly what happened to him. I think he actually clipped the apron and it really messed his car up. So now just over 20 laps to go in this race, now to lap 150, and I wasn't gaining or losing anything on those front two, and that shows you just how even us 3 cars were with Jonathan, Mahu, and myself. Now as I had no drafting help, of course they were drafting with each other, but I just still wasn't surprisingly losing anything, but still wasn't gaining anything either. As you can imagine, it was a little bit frustrating coming up to 10 laps ago, but I was still happy we at least had a nice rebound from getting completely screwed over. But now, on lap 157, I decided I'm going to come into the pit lane before the 14 and the 20, and hopefully I can have a good enough entry and a good enough exit that I can really gain time and hopefully be within drafting distance of those two now as we came through out of turns 4. No cautions getting called this time, but this time I completely screw myself over in speed again. But this time, obviously, there's no caution to save us, and we have thrown our whole race away. So my only thing I could do is I took no tires and took a splash of fuel. We cut straight through to a few more laps later now with just 3 laps to go, and now Christian was going by in the 4. I was down in P11 just hanging on for dear life, hoping a caution was going to come out. Caution never came. Now to the final lap here in Texas. 2% by the way on the right rear tire on the final lap. It stayed green the whole final stage like I wanted it to, pretty much, other than that one caution, of course, that screwed us over. And then the 20 of Jonathan wins the race. 1% now on the right rear tire with 2 corners to go through turn 3. We make it through turn 3 and out of turns 4. We're trying to at least get to this finish line safely. Out of turns 4, the right rear tire blows. I make sure to put it in the wall instead of turning it to the left, and we cross the line just barely in front of the 41 of LCS. We get P11 here in Texas after what a downfall as we spin the car out after the line. In position to go for a win here today in Texas. Everything went wrong every time it had to do with pretty much the pit lane. A very unfortunate end here in Texas Motor Speedway. Also our worst finish of the season when we know we had a car that was capable of winning. So we are now 31 points below the cut line, looking pretty good with just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 regular season races to go. We are locked in the playoffs, so no concerns there. As always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, of course, you do know what to do. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch this episode. It does mean a lot to me. And of course, I'd like to say thank you to the Going Racing members on the channel of MJ, Joseph 9001, Timothy Arline, Bubba Jr., Brett Durward, Dark Gengar Gaming, AJ Vasseur, Russell Dixon, Kenneth Barnett, Dana9302, as well as King Matt XL. You guys help me out so much, as I always say, and I really do appreciate it once again. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.